All right. So in putting this together as a footnote, what do you start off with? Okay. So in this case, what do you write down in your footnote? All right. Now, you could write Roy B. Ward. It would depend on how it is listed in the article. Usually you want to keep it. Right? So if he had Roy B. Ward, that's fine. If he's got his middle name there entirely, it's okay to put the entire middle name as well. Just if the thing would be, if you have several articles by Roy Ward, decide on which way you're going to do it, right? Because, I mean, there are some authors who, in one book, they include their middle initial, and in other books, they don't include their middle initial. For your paper, pick one of those, right? And just consistently, right? So if they're, for example, often named George Marsden, right? George M. Marsden is how he appears in some books. In some books, he just appears as George Marsden. If you have several books by George Marsden, you would decide, am I including the M or not? In that case, I'd say, because I have several that don't, right, just George Marsden. Right? So Roy Ward, depending on how it's presented in the article, that would be how you go with it. All right, so Roy B. Ward or Roy Bowen Ward or just Roy Ward. What punctuation comes after his name in the footnote? Comma. All right. So Roy Bowen Ward, comma. What comes next? All right. Which would be what? All right. In this case, you're not going to put the journal next. What comes after the author? The title of the article. All right. And so in this case, the case for John 7:53 through 8:11. How do you punctuate that? Parentheses. Are you sure? Quotation marks. That's why I thought you did. You did that, but then you said parentheses, and I was like, okay, it's in quotation marks. What else do you need? Not for a journal article. The title is just in quotation marks, and then you want a comma, right? So comma here, and then the end quotation marks. So the title of the article. Now we have the journal article, again abbreviated, Res Q. What comes next? The volume. Right, volume 3.
Is that the right volume 3 or
just the number? All right. You don't need to write the actual word volume.
Year in parentheses.
Year in parentheses.
Colon.
All right.
Page number.
And then page number, in this case, 132. So it would look like this. You would have your footnote number, whatever footnote number it would be. Questions? All right. Let's move on to a bibliographic citation. Another journal article, this one by Chris Keith. And remember, this is how it would appear in your bibliography. All right, so bibliographic citation, what do you start off with?
Main lesson first.
Okay, in this case it would be? Is that correct? There's probably more there than what you have than what you're saying. Okay, there you go. Right? Right. Remember the comma between the last name, comma, first name. Right. All right. So in this case, Keith, comma, Chris. What follows the name in a bibliographic citation?
A period in the title.
A period and then the title. All right. In this case, the initial location of the pericope adulterae in fourfold tradition. What does that? That appears in quotation marks. All right. Followed by a period, all right? Period, and then all right, and then after the journal title, what comes, or the article title, what comes next?
The journal.
All right, the journal title. Did you look up what the abbreviation for New Testament would be? It is no test, but that's a trick question because in a bibliography you use the full journal article. But yeah, actually note T is what the abbreviation would be if you were footnoting it. But in the bibliography you use the Novum Testamentum. All right, what comes next?
Volume number and year.
All right, so volume number and year in parentheses, and then let's say you only use page 210 in the article. What do you include in the bibliography? All right, include all of them. How should the page numbers appear?
Fully written.
All right, fully written. Do you abbreviate them at all? All right, so 209 to 231. Now, if this was 219, then you would drop this 2. It would be 219-31. But because it's 209, then you keep it that way. All right, so this is how it would appear in the bibliography. Again, the hanging indent. Pericope adulterae, because it's Latin, should appear in italics, but I wouldn't worry about that for this one since we just kind of talked about it. The other thing to note is in your journal article title, sometimes, depending on where you pull it up from, like if you pulled it up from the ATLA database, it might show up where only the first word is capitalized, but correct grammar says you should capitalize each of the major letters and fourfold tradition. So you might have to make slight changes to that in coming up with it. All right. Let's get to some other, I'll give you some examples. You tell me which was the right one. I'm looking for the correct footnote citation of page 15 of Catherine Lofton's Oprah, the Gospel of an Icon. The fourth one? Everybody agree with that? What are wrong with some of the others? If the fourth one's correct, what's wrong with some of the others?
The top one doesn't have the title italicized.
All right.
The second one doesn't have the publication information in parentheses.
Okay.
Third one. It doesn't have the subtitle.
Doesn't have the subtitle. Now, in this case, you could include the state. You wouldn't necessarily need to, but it wouldn't necessarily be wrong either. Right? And so if you had the subtitle here and just had Berkeley, that would be okay as well. But because you don't have the subtitle, that's what's wrong with that one. Which of the following is the correct bibliographic citation of the same work?
last one. It's hard to make a discern between commas and
but I don't believe I've thrown you off with the commas or the periods. Right? So the last one, does everybody agree with that?
Is this a commentary or?
It is book.
Okay.
The last one is actually wrong.
It's third.
All right. Third to the last one. This one?
Yes.
This one here?
I think I'd have some title on there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Over us.
What's wrong with the first two? Let's start there.
There's no parentheses, the author name starts out wrong.
Right, the author name starts off wrong. Right, this is bibliographic, so it should be Lawson, Captain. Right, so the first two are out because of that. Okay. Now, I said this one was wrong. What's wrong with this one? I'll give you a clue. It is not a punctuation issue. No, this one right here. The last one.
Yeah, I need a page.
Don't need the page numbers in a bibliography when you're doing a book. Right? You need the page numbers if you're doing a journal article. You don't need the page numbers if you're doing a book. So it's actually this one, the third one, is the correct one. All right. We've already had this one, but I'll give it to you again. Which one is the correct footnote of page 53? You said that so confidently.
If I remember right, we don't need all the page numbers in the footnote part. So,
Yeah. Now, if you were just referencing the entire work, right, you weren't quoting it, you just said, like, see also this article, in that case you might include all the pages, but in most cases you're going to be specifically citing a specific page, in which case you don't need the page range. All right, and so the top one is correct. This one, right, you don't, you want the abbreviation. Right, would be another thing that's wrong with that. The name order is incorrect. So the first one would be the one that you would want. This one is George R. Beasley Murray's commentary on John from the Word Biblical Commentary. One of these is the correct bibliographic citation, and one of them is the correct footnote citation. Let's start with the footnotes. Which of these is the correct footnote citation?
the third one.
Again, you said that so confidently.
Oh, the third one. There's only one that's invented.
All right.
That's the correct name.
Yeah, that one kind of clues you off. Right? So, additionally, you know, we use the abbreviation and the footnote. So, which one's the correct bibliographic citation? I mean, obviously we can eliminate this one, so that's a footnote citation. Anything else we can eliminate right off the top for a bibliographic citation?
The second to last one.
Okay? All right? The title's first and the indentation's wrong.
The top one, because that's the first name.
All right? Top one can go because it should be last name, first name. So we have, that leaves us with 3. Second one, the fourth one, and the sixth one. Any of those 3 we can eliminate.
Can you eliminate the bottom one? Bottom is just kidding. Like,
Yes, because
I'm going to use all the names.
you can eliminate the bottom one. So this is the page number.
But you don't need a page number for
That's right.
bibliographic citation and commentary. The title, I just noticed that should be John. So this is actually an incorrect footnote citation now that I look at it. It should be just John, not the Gospel of John. All right. We have the second one. Anybody want to agree, disagree? All right. If it's the second one, what's wrong with number 4 and number 6?
The last one, the name is
Okay. Yeah, this one is wrong because it's got the page number. This one and the commentary series is abbreviated when in a bibliographic citation is supposed to be spelled out. The difference between these two is the italics. The commentary itself, the title of the commentary should be italicized. The series should be regular font. All right. Any questions? Any questions we can deal with now? Okay.
Everybody skipping this class.